Chapter 523. Swoosh. Swoosh. Luo Qingtong moved in the yin-yang soul mountain. As the tide of months of demons took shape, the blood moon in the sky became more and more obvious. In the air, illusory soul bodies began to distort and charge towards Luo Qingtong with a sharp howl. The dead souls filled the air. 100 ghosts parade. Swoosh. Luo Qingtong opened the death blade in her hand. As the dead souls pounced on her, she drew a full moon shape and killed them quickly. Bang! 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 Wherever the girl's figure passed by, it was like a huge black whirlpool, killing all the dead souls. However, after those dead souls dissipated, new dead souls were born. Luo Qingtong killed the dead souls as she walked. She rushed to the edge of the Kaiyuan mystery land. The space here has been distorted. In her arms, little Nether Venerable looked solemn. His handsome and cold face was now filled with a serious expression. So, we're trapped here. Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed as she killed the dead souls that kept charging at her. Swoosh. She rushed out of the yin-yang soul mountain. As she left, fewer dead souls were born. Some of the dead souls that pounced on her were easily killed by Luo Qingtong. Yes. Unless an expert of the sage state breaks the space from the inside and sends you out, you will be trapped here, Yi Qianxian said in a low voice. The tide of months of demons began. The aura of the yin soul mountain filled the air. His separated soul was imprisoned in the heart of the 1,000-year soul-guiding wood. Because it was also a soul, it was very sensitive to the aura. He sensed that the passageways to the outside world in the Kaiyuan mystery land were all closed when the tide of months of demons appeared. The disciples of the big forces could leave with their identity nameplates. However, Luo Qingtong and the others did not have any identity nameplates. Even if there were people outside who wanted to save them, they could not locate them. Unless there was an expert of the sage state who could send them out. However, there were only a few instructors from Tianyu branch, and the most of them were at the peak of the martial emperor realm. Even if the increase was not as great as the consumption, it would at most reach the martial emperor realm. What use would that kind of strength have at this time? When the power of the tide of the months of demons was released from the yin-yang soul mountain, the entire mountain would be filled with dead souls. That bit of strength of theirs could not even be considered cannon fodder. In the tide of the months of demons, even a saint realm expert would be exhausted and die. After all, the number of dead souls was boundless. Let's go and take a look first. Luo Qingtong frowned. Who would have thought that he would encounter such a thing after entering the Kaiyuan mystic realm to train? If the dean of the Tianyu branch school knew that he had sent his students here on a whim, only to be met with such a calamity, who knew if he would vomit blood outside? In fact, the dean of the Tianyu branch was already vomiting blood. Quick! Hurry up and invite Song. Teacher Song Cheng. Hearing that the tide of the months of demons had erupted in the Kaiyuan secret realm, and that the disciples of the major forces had left the secret realm, the dean of the Tianyu branch shouted as if he had lost his mind. Quick! The instructors of the Tianyu branch school were also burning with anxiety. Chapter 524. However, the latter had just received Luo Qingtong's guidance and was experimenting with his inscription pattern in the laboratory. He was determined to refine an interspatial ring of more than 10 square meters. A group of mentors had been wandering around the Sage Realm array outside his dormitory for a long time, but they couldn't disturb him at all. They had no choice but to report back to the branch dean. The latter could only vomit blood while shouting, "Invite the experts of the Saint Court of the Empire of Qin to come. Invite the experts of the Saint Court of the Empire of Qin to come." An entire school of students. If they were really destroyed in the Kaiyuan mystic realm, then he, the branch dean, would really be finished. Just as the outside world was in a mess, Luo Qingtong had already reached the edge of the Kaiyuan mystic realm. Swoosh! The blood light in her eyes flashed, and she quickly found Sima Ju's location based on the inscription pattern's aura she left on him. However, just as she got close to where they were, she suddenly felt an attack flying over from the side. Bang! Luo Qingtong's figure flashed, and she instantly dodged that attack. Just then, she heard Su Xiaoxiao's sobbing voice not far away. You're too much. After Su Xiaoxiao's voice, it was Ling Yuer's voice. You Wenxue, Shi Qingqing, you'll die a horrible death. Luo Qingtong frowned and looked forward. In the open area ahead, Ling Yuer, Su Xiaoxiao, Yuan Hu, Sima Ju, Ling Tianhan, and the others were surrounded by Yu Wenxue, Shi Qingqing, Zhang Haoping, and the other students on the genius ranking. Rather than saying surrounded, it was more like they were surrounded by a group of dead souls. However, Shi Qingqing and the others had more people, and they surrounded Ling Yu, and the others in the center, forming a three-layered encirclement. Perhaps it was because they were near the swamp and the yin qi was heavier, but the number of dead souls spawned there was not a small number. At this moment, they had completely surrounded Shi Qingqing, Ling Yu, and the others. The number of dead souls was endless. Once they were killed, they would continue to spawn. It was obvious that some of Shi Qingqing's people couldn't hold on any longer and immediately had evil intentions. They wanted to divert the attention of the dead souls by sending Yuan Hu and the others to their deaths so that they could escape. Bang bang bang. A portion of the group stayed behind to attack the dead souls, while the rest attacked Yuan Hu and the others. Ling Yu, and the others' angry rebukes came from this. They originally needed to resist the attacks of the dead souls, but Shi Qingqing and the others still wanted to hit them while they were down, wanting to use their deaths in exchange for a chance to live. Who wouldn't hate them? What's more, they had just been training here and were about to leave when they saw the dead souls appear. Chapter 525. Looking at the genius list student who had pushed Sima Ju out, painfully clutching his hand and rolling on the ground, Sima Ju's dark eyes flashed with a cold and indifferent light. This person was looking for death. Shi Qingqing and the rest didn't expect that Sima Ju, who looked like the easiest to bully, was actually the hardest to deal with. They thought that after pushing Sima Ju out, Yuan Hu and the rest would be in a mess and they would be able to defeat them one by one. They didn't expect Sima Ju to be fine and cripple one of their genius list students' hand. Since when were the trash class students so powerful? If they had such talent and strength, how could they not enter the elite class? Shi Qingqing and the rest were depressed, but now wasn't the time to think about it. The dead souls' attacks were getting more and more concentrated and powerful. If this continued, they would all die here. Let's attack together. Zhang Haoping said coldly. The other genius list students echoed in unison. Junior Ling, I'm sorry. Shi Qingqing looked at Ling Yu, and Ling Tianhan and said, we are the most important students in the school. I think the dean and the mentors will also sacrifice you guys for us. You guys stay. Help us block the dead souls. As for your heroic deeds, I will report it to the dean and the mentors when we return to the school. They will know. Ling Public House will also be proud of you guys. That's right. It's your honor to die to protect us. Yu Wenxue was protected at the back. She looked at Ling Yu and the rest and said, Ling Yu blame yourself for being with a bunch of trash class students. They deserve to be our stepping stone and cushion. As she spoke, the genius list students had already attacked. Bang bang bang. Yuan Hu and the rest were already at a disadvantage in terms of numbers. Even with Yuan Hu's petrification soul imprint and innate strength and Ling Tianhan's outstanding strength, they were still no match for Shi Qingqing and the rest. The group was forced into the depths of the dead souls. They were attacked from both sides. Big brother. Ling Yu and the rest were furious when they saw Ling Tianhan's sword was knocked down and he had to face the attacks of Shi Qingqing and the rest. At this moment, swoosh! Luo Qingtong's figure suddenly appeared beside them. In the next second, the wind and thunder sword appeared. Clang! Between heaven and earth, the sound of wind and thunder resounded. Luo Qingtong directly swept her sword across. Bang! 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 Before the countless dead souls could even get close, they were scattered by the power of wind and thunder in Luo Qingtong's oscillating wind and thunder sword. Although this killing effect was not as good as the life and death sword's death edge, it was still quite powerful. If Luo Qingtong used her life and death yin-yang swords, all the dead souls within a radius of 100 meters would be annihilated. Bang! After the wind and lightning sword killed those dead souls, it swept towards Shi Qingqing and the others. Under the shocked gazes of the latter and the others, with a boom, all of their attacks were shattered into pieces, and they were all injured. Puff! Shi Qingqing and the others spat out a mouthful of blood as they stared at the young girl in front of them in shock. Luo Qingtong. Looking at the red figure that appeared in front of them, they were indescribably shocked. She swept away so many dead souls with one sword, shattered their attacks, and injured them. How strong was Luo Qingtong? Chapter 526. Boss. Qingtong. Seeing Luo Qingtong appear, little Tyrant Yuan and the rest were overjoyed. Especially little Tyrant Yuan, he pointed at Shi Qingqing and the rest and said, "Boss, they bullied us when you weren't here. They even wanted to send us to our deaths." She complained so boldly and confidently. Especially when Luo Qingtong was so powerful. Bastards who didn't rely on their backers. Go! Go quickly! Being pointed at by little Tyrant Yuan, Zhang Haoping and the rest instantly reacted and hurriedly turned to flee. However, just as their figures moved, another sword light flew over in an instant. If it weren't for the dead souls surging over again and helping them block some of the attacks, Zhang Haoping and the rest would have all died under that sword light. Pft, pft, pft. The group of people all spat out blood and ran wildly, not daring to stay at all. Luo Qingtong's strength was simply terrifyingly strong. How was this possible? How did her strength suddenly become so strong? Could it be that she had encountered a heavenly opportunity in this training? The group of people thought as they fled in panic. Shi Qingqing and Yu Wenxue's faces were even paler. Yu Wenxue was still alright, her strength was only average to begin with. Even if she found out that Luo Qingtong was very powerful, she only felt resentment and unwillingness in her heart. But Shi Qingqing was like a bolt from the blue. She never thought that in just a short while, Luo Qingtong's strength would actually become so powerful. Could it be that they purposely sent her to that space-time pit to help her instead? But did that space-time pit lead to the core of the Kai Yuan mystic realm? Generally, the genius disciples of large factions wouldn't dare to go there without forming a team. Shouldn't Luo Qingtong be dead for sure after being sent there? In the end, not only did she not die, she even obtained a great opportunity and became so powerful now. Thinking of this, Shi Qingqing's heart felt like it was being bitten by countless ants, and she was extremely regretful. If she had known this would happen, she wouldn't have listened to Zhang Haoping and the rest. She should have thought of a way to kill Luo Qingtong during the training. Instead of pushing her into that trap and helping her out for no reason. Thinking of this, Shi Qingqing's heart was filled with hatred. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold as she watched them leave. Let's go. She turned around and killed the dead souls that were approaching again, and led little Overlord Yuan and the others out of the dead souls' tide. Phew. Boss, it's fortunate that you made it this time. Otherwise, we'd be dead for sure. You don't know how treacherous Shi Qingqing and the others are. Being led away from the dead souls' tide by Luo Qingtong, they finally arrived at a place with fewer dead souls. Yuan Little Overlord sat on the ground and said. Soon after, he became excited. The space around this light gate had been distorted, and the aura of the ghost mountain had shrouded the area. Luo Qingtong had just refined a spatial ring, and standing near the light gate, she could naturally feel the distortion of the space force field. This door of light was equivalent to being locked in place. It was just for show. What should we do? Seeing that the surrounding darkness was getting thicker and thicker, dead souls were gathering towards them from all directions. Everyone from the Tianyu branch had a look of despair on their faces. There were too many. There were too many dead souls. They were densely packed, and there was no end to them. And because most of the people in the Kaiyuan mystery realm had left, only they had the aura of living people. Those dead souls had all gathered from the Yin-Yang Soul Mountain. I wonder if I can use the inscription method to repair the spatial force field near the door of light. If it could be repaired, then as long as the teachers had enough strength, they would be able to open the door of light. The reason why they couldn't open it before was because the teachers weren't strong enough. Those who were not in the saint realm could not break through space. We can give it a try. Yi Qianqian's eyes flashed. If it were someone else, he definitely wouldn't believe that that person could do it. After all, it was a space that could only be broken by the saint realm, and it was shrouded by the power of the tide of months of demons. How could it be repaired so easily? Luo Qingtong wasn't a real inscription master. Even a real inscription master had to be able to refine a space ring that could create a world of its own in order to do this. But this woman had created too many miracles. Chapter 529. Luo Qingtong nodded. I'll go with the identity of evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Luo Qingtong was well aware of what it meant to be able to break through a space that only a saint realm powerhouse could do. Without sufficient persuasion, she feared that those mentors would not listen to her. And the identity of evil Dr. Ghost Eye represented absolute persuasion. Shwa! Luo Qingtong's figure disappeared into the tide of dead souls. Using the cover of the dead souls, Luo Qingtong quickly completed her disguise. The youth was dressed in red, evil and enchanting. The Rakshasa ghost mask covering his face was ferocious. It had the ferocious appearance of an evil spirit, but it also had a different kind of bewitching charm. To be able to wear such a ferocious and terrifying Rakshasa ghost mask like a Buddha from the immortal realm, and to have an awe-inspiring demonic charm, this was something that no one else possessed. As soon as Luo Qingtong appeared, everyone's eyes instantly gathered on her. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Seeing the Rakshasa ghost mask on the youth's face and the feeling that he gave off, the several Sky Universe branch mentors instantly confirmed Luo Qingtong's identity. They couldn't help but sigh in their hearts. It was rumored that anyone who saw evil Dr. Ghost Eye would be able to recognize him at a glance. They thought that was an exaggeration. But now, it seemed that it wasn't an exaggeration at all. It was completely true. How many people could wear such an enchanting and evil demeanor like this youth? Sir Evil Dr. Ghost Eye, I didn't think that you would also be in this mystic realm. A mentor respectfully stepped forward and tentatively asked, could it be that you are also a disciple of a great influence that came to the initial element mystic realm to gain experience? The entire True Spill continent had been searching for this person. Even the people of the Black Field were looking for her. No one knew who evil Dr. Ghost Eye was. Now that she had appeared in this mystic realm, could it be that she was actually a hidden disciple of some great influence? The kind that was even fiercer than the great influences of the Holy Dynasty. These teachers of Tianyu vaguely heard some things about the Holy Dynasty, but those things were too far away from them. Seeing Luo Qingtong this time, they only dared to make some guesses. After all, apart from such forces, they couldn't think of any other place that could avoid the Black Field and the investigation of the major forces of the Sacred Dynasty. However, why would such a powerful figure appear in this Yuan Kai mystic realm? Could it be that with his ability and strength, he still needed to come to such a place to gain experience? Was this a joke? With a casual wave of his hand, there would be countless resources and secret places for her to cultivate at will. The Kai Yuan mystic realm was considered precious to them, but since it was open to the public, it was definitely not that precious. Just like the grand event of the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin that their principal wanted to participate in. That kind of competition between the four regions, the opportunity for so many peerless geniuses to gather together to fight for it was truly precious. Of course, if it was the evil Dr. Ghost Eye, she could go whenever she wanted. I just came in for a stroll and to take some things. I didn't expect to encounter the tides of the months of demons. Luo Qingtong said as she looked at them. Which faction are you from? Why haven't you left yet? When the tides of the months of demons wreak havoc, no one in the Kai Yuan mystic realm will be spared. As long as the months of demons don't disappear, the dead won't leave. If you don't leave now, you will be buried here with me. Before she could finish her words, the teachers of Tianyu branch were already sweating profusely. Evil Doctor. Lord Evil Doctor. We are from Tianyu branch and we are trapped here. We can't get out. Evil Doctor, please save us. Save us. The teachers of Tianyu branch didn't know that the tides of the months of demons were so terrifying. They only knew that something was wrong with their surroundings, but they didn't expect the tides of the months of demons to be so terrifying. Chapter 530. They took the bait. Luo Qingtong's lips curved into a smile. Save you. Ordinary people can't afford the price I have to pay. The group of mentors from Tianyu branch were actually trying anything in their desperation. They weren't sure if Luo Qingtong could save them. After all, they hadn't heard that evil Dr. Gui Tong had reached the Saint Realm. But now that they heard Luo Qingtong's words, they saw a glimmer of hope. They hurriedly shouted, Evil Doctor, don't worry. Everyone in our school is here. The situation is very serious. As long as you can save us, our school will pay any price. The mentors of Tianyu branch dared to make such a promise because all the students of Tianyu branch were here. If they all died here, the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin and Tianyu Empire would be greatly shocked. Therefore, no matter what the price was, the school would agree. As if afraid that Luo Qingtong would go back on her words, they hurriedly made an oath and a written pledge. Looking at the pledge in her hand, Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. She could ask for anything. These mentors of Tianyu branch really regarded her as their last hope. But Luo Qingtong was indeed their only hope now. If she couldn't save them, then they could only wait for death here. The students of Tianyu branch were like birds startled by the twang of a bow. After Luo Qingtong told them how terrible the tides of the months of demons were, many students who couldn't bear it burst into tears. Those who were slightly stronger looked at Luo Qingtong with hope and fear. Luo Qingtong disguised herself as a teenager and looked about the same age as them. They didn't expect her to be the famous evil Dr. Gui Tong. Could this teenager really have a way to get them out of here? The students of Tianyu branch felt like their hearts were covered with a layer of dust. They didn't know whether they would live or die. Luo Qingtong had no time to pay attention to them. Previously, a group of mentors had surrounded the door of light, so she couldn't get close to take a look. Now that they were closer, they realized how severe the spatial distortion and rupture of the light gate were. I need your help. Luo Qingtong looked at the mentors and said, I can fix this gate of light, but I'll need your help. Luo Qingtong activated her pupillary technique and could clearly see the distorted spatial force field inside the light door. She could use the inscription lines to make up for it. Restore the force field to the state before the tide of months of demons. However, this required a large amount of energy, and she couldn't do it alone. What's more, the carving of the inscriptions required sufficient cultivation strength to support it. At this time, Luo Qingtong was incomparably glad that her special ability was the eye technique. Otherwise, if it was another person, even if it was a real inscription master, it would be impossible to repair the space force field and return the light door to normal. She was also glad that old man Songqing didn't remove the light door because he was lazy. Otherwise, without this light door, even if she had the ability to reach the heavens, she wouldn't be able to break open the space and send them out until she reached the sage realm. Good. Evil doctor, if you have any instructions, please don't hesitate to tell us. When the mentors heard that there was hope for them to leave, they didn't care about anything else and immediately agreed. What's more, some of them had even prepared a forbidden spell. Meeting this woman was the luckiest thing in his life. He only felt joy, not pain. What was there to sympathize with? Little Pig really wanted to use his little hooves to shake Yi Qianxian awake. Young man, this isn't right. Where's your domineering aura as the king of Blackfield? Didn't you say this woman needs to be properly trained? Don't be the first to be trained by her. Chapter 532. Whoosh. After more than an hour, Luo Qingtong finally finished drawing all the inscriptions on the door. The instructors behind her were still pouring energy into the door. About 2 hours later, the instructors finally stopped after injecting energy into the inscriptions that Luo Qingtong had drawn. They were almost drained dry. A few of the instructors with average strength even used forbidden spells. Okay, get out of the way. The tide of the months of demons was close to the middle of the sky. There were more and more dead souls at the edge, and the dead souls behind them were getting stronger. The encirclement formed by the students of Tianyu branch was shrinking, and they were almost at the door of light. Whoosh! Luo Qingtong pointed her finger at the hub where all the inscription lines were connected. Instantly, the inscriptions on the door of light came alive. It's open. It's open. The door is open. As the inscriptions moved, the door of light suddenly shone brightly. The space energy affected by the tide of the months of demons was restored under the influence of the spatial inscriptions, and it returned to its original state. The door of light slowly opened. Seeing the door of light light up, the entire Tianyu branch, from the teachers to the students, cried out in excitement. At the same time, in the outside world, Tianyu branch. The Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin heard that Tianyu branch had sent students into the mysterious land of Kaiyuan to train, and they were trapped inside, so they immediately sent a Saint Realm expert to help. However, the space in the mysterious land of Kaiyuan was distorted, and the students of Tianyu branch didn't have an identity tag, so they were basically smuggled in. The Saint Realm expert couldn't find them at all, let alone break the space from the outside to save them. During the tide of the months of demons, the space in the mysterious land of Kaiyuan was sealed. It couldn't be broken from the outside. Songqing also sensed the aura of the Sage Realm experts from the academy and came out of his laboratory when he sensed the aura of the Sage Realm experts. He panicked when he heard that all the students of the school were trapped in the mysterious land of Kaiyuan. F***ck. His precious disciple was still in there. Songqing couldn't wait to catch the dean of Tianyu branch and beat him to death. What a pain in the ass. If it wasn't for your sudden inspiration to send your student into the Kaiyuan mystic realm to train, his precious disciple wouldn't have met with such a mishap. Songqing now valued Luo Qingtong more than anything else. That was his precious Dan. Now that he was trapped in the origin opening secret realm, it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. He was on the verge of killing the principal of the Tianyu branch super monastery. The latter did not even dare to fight back. Right at this moment. Buzz! Beams of light suddenly came from the entrance of the Kaiyuan secret realm. A light gate suddenly appeared. Door! The door is open. When the group of Sky Universe branch teachers saw the door to the Kaiyuan secret realm open, they were so excited that their beards and hair were trembling. Oh my God! The door opened. The students inside were saved. On the other hand, Songqing and the Saint Realm expert from the Empire of Qin were stunned. After the Kai Yuan mystic realm was sealed, it could only be opened from the inside. Moreover, it couldn't be opened by anyone below the saint stage. Could there be a saint realm expert inside? That's not right. Isn't this the light gate I opened before? Song Ching muttered to himself as he looked at the light gate. He had opened the gate himself, so he could recognize it. However, the tide of the months of demons covered the entire area, so the light gate should have been sealed. Chapter 533. While he was in a daze, the students of Tianyu branch hurriedly rushed out when they saw the door of light open. Instructor. A group of people rushed out crying and threw themselves into the arms of their respective instructors. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. The students of Tianyu branch all rushed out of the door of light. As they left, the encirclement of dead souls continued to shrink. Luo Qingtong glanced around. When she found that most of the students had left, she prepared to leave as well. She changed back into Luo Qingtong's identity and left this place. However, after looking around several times, she found that little Tyrant Yuan and the others were not there. What's going on? Luo Qingtong carefully recalled. Indeed, she did not see little Tyrant Yuan and the others leave. Luo Qingtong's brows furrowed. When she changed her identity, she naturally told little Tyrant Yuan and the others to stay near the door of light and leave as soon as they had the chance. They did not need to worry about her. Where did this group of people go now? While she was thinking, a group of people covered in wounds and wearing tattered clothes suddenly rushed into the door of light in front of her. Shi Qingqing, Zhan Haoping. Looking at the group of people who seemed to have crawled out of a pile of corpses, Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. She did not expect them to be alive. She did not know how they escaped the pursuit of those dead souls. It seemed that their team had suffered heavy losses. Luo Qingtong ignored them and focused on searching for little Tyrant Yuan and the others. Swoosh! Her figure swept in the direction of Shi Qingqing and the others. For some reason, she felt that the disappearance of little Tyrant Yuan and the others had something to do with Shi Qingqing and the others. Sure enough, she did not go far in that direction before she saw little Tyrant Yuan and the others surrounded by the tide of dead souls. Boss! Boss! Yuan Hu, the blockhead, was at the outermost periphery. His skin was completely petrified, blocking all the dead souls outside. He allowed them to bite him as they desperately squeezed into the depths of the tide of dead souls. Damn it! Shi Qingqing, those bitches, if something really happened to Boss because of them, I won't let them off even if I become a ghost. Boss! He shouted with all his might. Behind him, Sima Ju's skin had turned black. Countless poisons were spreading out in all directions. His 10,000 poisons body could even poison souls to thin out. For the first time, Sima Ju did not hate his body. Instead, he was afraid that the poison in his body was not strong enough. Not enough. Not enough. He hated that he could not kill all these dead souls. Boss! As for the people around him, wasn't there still Su Xiaoxiao? She was a girl. She was medicine, Su, she was a medicine as well as a little girl. Of Shi Ju Yain was. Countless medicinal liquids were moving in her hands. According to the changes in Sima Ju's body, she made the corresponding antidote. At the same time, according to the poison that could kill those dead souls, she made a new poison to form a protection around everyone. Her hands moved in a dazzling manner. Countless drops of medicinal liquid danced in her hands like fairies. But I also think that my actions just now were quite heroic. He laughed out loud. Ling Yu, and the others were speechless. Come on, let's get out of here. The light door has already opened, and most of the people have probably left by now. As Luo Qingtong spoke, she raised her hand and killed the dead souls that surged towards her. This time, she did not deliberately hide her strength. With a strike, coupled with the life and death duality sword, almost all the dead souls within a 100-meter radius were wiped out. That mentor knows the sage stage expert from the Empire of Qin's Sacred Academy who came this time. He's a good friend. Shi Qingqing, we can't let Luo Qingtong come out alive. Let her destroy everything we have. Zhang Haoping said with a vicious look in his eyes. I just heard that the lines carved on the door of light can't be destroyed. Otherwise, the door of light will be destroyed. Or rather, she was staring at Yi Qianxian, who was in her sleeve. Oh my God! Looking at this scene of tens of thousands of ghosts, Little Pig finally understood what Yi Qianren meant when she said he was a great tonic for these dead souls. This was the gaze of a hungry wolf looking at a meat bun. Although Little Pig knew that Yi Qianxian was not an ordinary person, he didn't know that his soul was so attractive to these dead souls. Oh my God! He was even more popular than an ancient divine beast. This dead soul king was at least in the saint realm. Feeling the huge shock wave spreading in the space, Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed slightly. Feeling the approach of the dead soul king, those ghosts that were forced to hundreds of meters away by Luo Qingtong screamed and controlled those dead souls to rush forward. If this went on, Luo Qingtong would not be able to resist at all. Boss! Little Overlord Yuan and the others were also surrounded. If not for the fact that he remembered Luo Qingtong's teachings and the petrification soul imprint, he would not have been able to withstand the attack long ago. At that time, Sima Zhu and Su Xiaoxiao would be caught in the endless attacks of those ghosts and dead souls. Chapter 538. Let go of the original body. He looked at Luo Qingtong. The original body will deal with them. Your divided soul strength is not at the saint realm. Luo Qingtong looked at him and hugged him. Right now, only Yi Qianren could deal with these dead souls. But his original body was not here, and the strength of this divided soul was not enough to deal with the dead soul king. If not for this, these ghosts, who were the best at avoiding danger, would not have dared to attack him. Ghosts were the most cunning. They were the most sensitive to danger. If she let go of Yi Qianxian and let him deal with these dead souls, they would definitely swarm him. Yi Qianxian's divided soul would be devoured by them. The original body said that the original body will not die so easily. Little Ming Zun raised his head proudly. As long as I, Yi Qianxian, am not willing, no one can take my life. Even if it's just a divided soul, it's still impossible. It was clearly a very domineering and imposing speech, but when Yi Qianren said it in such a soft and adorable manner, it strangely lost a lot of her imposing manner. She looked like a child who was deliberately speaking the words of an adult. He was so cute. Luo Qingtong could not help but laugh. What? You don't believe the original body? Little Ming Zun's little face became serious when he heard her laugh. He was inexplicably angry. This woman, he was talking to her very seriously. What did she mean by laughing like that? Yi Qianxian also knew that his small arms and legs did not look imposing, but wasn't it this woman's fault? Because of her, he was imprisoned in the heart of the 1,000-year soul guiding wood. His imposing manner as the overlord of the Black Field was completely lost, and he was at her mercy. If he did not like this woman, how could he let himself be to this extent? She actually laughed at him. Yi Qianxian gritted his teeth fiercely. This woman should be caught and taught a good lesson. It had been a long time since Yi Qianxian had such thoughts. It was all because of this woman. In the past, he had wanted to catch her no matter what and punish her properly. He wanted to let her know that his dignity as the supreme of the Black Field was not to be challenged. Although he liked her, she couldn't be spoiled. After that, his thoughts slowly changed. As long as this woman didn't hide from him, it would be fine. She would obediently let him find her and stop running away. He could ignore her repeated challenges to his dignity and tolerate her disrespect towards him. Now, inexplicably, hearing this woman's laughter, he wanted to teach her a lesson. It was simply too abominable. This sovereign is serious with you. He glared angrily at him with his pair of adorable big eyes. Luo Qingtong laughed even harder. Okay. I'll listen to you. I believe you. Luo Qingtong really did not know what to do with this Yi Qianxian. After all, at that time, the spatial force field above the light door was fine. All she had to do was to repair the distorted force field and return it to normal. But now, she had to draw all the spatial force fields that formed the light door. While Luo Qingtong was quickly drawing, the dead soul king had completely rushed over from the Yin spirit mountain. Its body was huge. Even though the Yin spirit mountain was not far from here, it still arrived quickly. Screech! When it arrived, it immediately let out a sharp howl, ordering the dead souls and Yin spirits to attack Yi Qianxian even more fiercely. Chapter 540. Rumble. Countless ghosts and dead souls attacked Yi Qianxian. As the saying goes, many ants could bite an elephant to death. Even though Yi Qianxian was extremely powerful, it was only a split soul that was here. And the soul power of a split soul was limited. Those ghosts came out with shrill howls. A large number of them died, and a large number of them came out. There was no end to them. Under such circumstances, each of them bit off a bit of Yi Qianxian's soul power. In just an instant, Yi Qianxian was completely surrounded by a black tide of dead souls. Countless ghosts and dead souls came one after another. The dense ghost aura condensed together and almost condensed into a substance. Luo Qingtong could feel the urgency of the situation outside. Her drawing of the inscription lines sped up. It was also because she had the eye technique that her drawing of the spatial force field was almost scripted. Her drawing speed was extremely fast, but there was no mistake at all. Screech! As she drew the last line of the inscription pattern, she finished it. The dead soul king, who had been watching from the side and waiting for an opportunity to attack Yi Qianxian, suddenly moved. It howled sharply and rushed out from the crowd of ghosts in an instant. It bit towards the man who was protecting Luo Qingtong in the middle. Yi Qianxian. At this moment, Luo Qingtong realized that the soul power around Yi Qianxian had almost completely dissipated. The man's figure became extremely illusory. There was a pile of Yin soul pills scattered around him. They were all given to him by her to preserve his soul power. Now, he had eaten all of them. It could be seen how crazy those ghosts and dead souls were when they attacked just now. Smack! When Luo Qingtong finished drawing all the inscription lines of the light door, Yi Qianxian's figure shrank back to its original little Ming Zun form. It was just that under Luo Qingtong's confinement, he had to shrink his body to fit the appearance of the thousand-year soul guiding tree's core. Now, he couldn't maintain his normal body size because of the loss of his power. Yi Qianren, you said that this wisp of your soul would be fine. Looking at this scene, Luo Qingtong's eyes turned red. Yi Qianxian's little Ming Zun form was faintly discernible in the air, as if it would disappear completely in the next second. As for the dead soul king, it had already opened its mouth and was about to bite him. It was waiting for this moment. This man's soul power was at its weakest and most vulnerable moment. At that time, he would be able to swallow him in one gulp and complete his greatest transformation. Yi Qianren. Luo Qingtong rushed over and hugged little Ming Zun. You lied to me. I never lie. Little Ming Zun looked proud. Even when he was so weak, Yi Qianxian would never show weakness in front of anyone. Woman, move away. As he spoke, he lifted his hand and pushed Luo Qingtong's body to one side. In the next second, he suddenly raised his hand and pressed his tender palm against the door of light. He did say that no one could take his life easily, not even a split soul. He also promised her that he wouldn't do anything reckless. But he would never do anything reckless when it came to her. Furthermore, he would not allow these filthy ghosts to obtain the power of his soul. Buzz. As little Ming Zun pressed his hand on the light door, the inscription lines in the light door were all activated. At the same time, the dead Soul King was also sent flying. Chapter 541. No. Yi Qianxian, don't do it. Luo Qingtong rushed forward with red eyes. She wanted to stop him, but it was too late. Luo Qingtong, Luo Qi, little Ming Zun turned to look at her. The cute little face that gradually became transparent in the air was soft, cute, and handsome. There was a little coldness in his arrogance. He raised his head and said awkwardly, "I won't hurt you. Next time, don't run away." After this wisp of soul dissipated, Yi Qianxian didn't know if this woman would run to a place where he couldn't find her. "Okay. I won't run away." Looking at his disappearing figure, Luo Qingtong's eyes welled up with tears. She nodded her head heavily, the blood in her eyes reaching its peak. This was a sign that her emotions were at its peak. Right at this moment, Wang, on the ring finger of Luo Qingtong's left hand, the 9 nether phoenix ring that Yi Qianren had put on her moved. In the next second, a dark red light shot out from it and wrapped around little Ming Zun's body that was about to dissipate completely. With a bang, the latter's small body turned into a ball of light and was collected by the 9 netherworld phoenix ring. It turned into a small ball of soul fire. It was the last true spirit of Yi Qianxian's wisp of soul. With this true spirit, Yi Qianxian's wisp of soul wouldn't completely dissipate. Luo Qingtong's eyes became surprised. She had always disliked the tracking ring that Yi Qianxian put on her. But at this moment, she was very glad that this ring existed. It saved little Ming Zun's last bit of soul fire. Swoosh. Looking at the ball of soul fire being absorbed into the 9 netherworld phoenix ring, Luo Qingtong's heart calmed down. Right at this moment, the dead Soul King that was blasted flying charged over once more. After losing the trace of Yi Qianxian's soul power, it was unwilling to give up. It bit towards Luo Qingtong's hand that was wearing the 9 netherworld phoenix ring. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. Just as this dead Soul King was about to swallow little Nether Venerable, it looked at him with a murderous gaze. Go! With a wave of her hand, she pushed little Tyrant Yuan and the others towards the light door that had reopened. At the same time, she tightened her grip on the heart of the 1,000-year-old soul guiding tree. Absorb! Whoosh! The Yin souls and death chi in the entire Kai Yuan secret realm were all absorbed by the 1,000-year soul guiding wood and transformed into a huge amount of energy, rushing into Luo Qingtong's body. This huge force almost caused Luo Qingtong's body to explode. Not enough. Not enough. It was far from enough. Looking at the dead Soul King that was chasing after her and vainly trying to snatch the 9 netherworld phoenix ring, Luo Qingtong's face was cold. She took out a large amount of Yang Soul stones and the Yang Soul Royal Stone from her spatial storage ring and stuffed them into her mouth. The energy of the Yang Soul stones and the Yang Soul Royal Stone was pure. They melted in her mouth and instantly filled her body, rapidly increasing her strength. First grade Martial Marquis, second grade Martial Marquis, third grade Martial Marquis. Peak Martial Marquis. Boom! Under the effect of the Yang Soul Royal Stone, Luo Qingtong directly ignored the shackles of the realm and perfectly advanced. Martial King Realm. Early Martial King, Inferior Martial King, Intermediate Martial King. Luo Qingtong's strength finally rose to the level of Intermediate Martial King. Chapter 542. Luo Qingtong didn't wield the life and death sword until her meridians were swollen and painful. The power of the life and death sword was at the mid-level martial king realm. The death blade was fan-shaped, revealing a sickle-like radiance. In the next second, Luo Qingtong's cold voice suddenly sounded. Heaven-conquering art, first move. Seizing heaven's fortune. Boom! As Luo Qingtong waved her sword, all the dead souls in the entire Kaiyuan mystic realm let out a sharp cry of terror. It was like a wave of death descending from the sky. The pitch-black sword light fell straight down like the Milky Way hanging in the sky. In an instant, it was like a tide, like a tsunami, from far to near, from thin to thick. In an instant, it exploded like a bolt from the blue. Rumble. The dead soul king that was chasing after Luo Qingtong was instantly slashed away by the sword light. The sword light broke through the sky and shattered the firmament. That sword light streaked across the sky, directly cutting a deep mark on the ground of this piece of plain. The brush strokes were like the work of the gods, carving out a heavy horizontal line on this desolate and barren land. The dead soul chi absorbed by Luo Qingtong this time was almost equivalent to the power of the sage realm. The dead soul king had been severely injured before. Now that it was slashed by Luo Qingtong's sword, it instantly screamed miserably. Its huge body tumbled in the air. The horn on its head was directly cut off by Luo Qingtong, and almost half of its eye was cut off. Amidst that intense wail, it instantly fled backwards like a stray dog, flying towards the direction of the Yin Spirit Mountain. It wanted to go back to heal its injuries immediately. This time, not only did it not get the delicious tonic when it woke up, but it also got injured all over. That ant-like human, whom it had not taken seriously at first, had suddenly become so powerful in the end. With the brain capacity of the dead soul king, it couldn't understand why Luo Qingtong had such a change. It didn't know that it was the dead soul chi all over the mountain and Luo Qingtong's unique eye technique that caused all this. Even if another peerless genius came, it was impossible to replicate the miracle of Luo Qingtong. Rumble. After sending the dead soul king flying, Luo Qingtong's figure also swept into the light gate. The sage realm aura in Yi Qianqian's soul power was limited. Not long after her figure swept into it, the gate instantly disappeared. The fact that Luo Qingtong used the inscription of space to carve the light door was covered up in the air, and no one knew about it. When the tide of the months of demons disappeared, some people re-entered the secret realm and saw the huge sword gully on the edge of the realm, but they didn't know who had caused it. But that was a story for the future. Swoosh! Luo Qingtong's figure rushed out of the light gate. Outside, little Overlord Yuan and the others were already waiting there. Boss! Seeing Luo Qingtong rush out, they all greeted her with shining eyes. Even Ling Tianhan, who was the most stable, looked at Luo Qingtong with surprise, shock, and other emotions. The strength that Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianxian had shown before was too amazing. If they hadn't been trapped in the secret realm of Kaiyuan, they wouldn't have known that Luo Qingtong was so powerful. As for the doll beside her, it was only a split soul. They were simply stunned when they saw the other party deal with so many dead souls. A split soul was so powerful. How strong was that man's real body? Sage realm. Or even higher. Oh my God. Chapter 543. Luo Qingtong, are you still the Luo Qingtong I know? Ling Yu patted her chest. Oh my God. You scared me to death. You're a Saint Realm expert. A split soul is acting like a puppet beside you. Just tell me the truth. You're not the eldest daughter of a marquis from a low-level kingdom. You're the genius eldest daughter of a super faction. The eldest daughter of a marquis from a low-level kingdom is just your disguise to play the game. It's true. I'm not surprised at all. And I promise to keep it a secret for you. Otherwise, I don't know when I'll be scared to death by you. Ling Yu felt like she had traveled to another world after going to the secret realm. Was she really not dreaming or in a hallucination? This was 2F** King realistic. Although a virtuous lady shouldn't swear, Ling Yu felt that she should let go of her demeanor as the legitimate daughter of Duke Ling's mansion. Otherwise, she couldn't express her excitement and shock. Luo Qingtong's previous strength was enough to shock her, but her subsequent strength and abilities were more terrifying than the previous one. She didn't know that Luo Qingtong still had her eye technique and little pig, the ancient divine beast that was sealed away. Otherwise, she wouldn't even have enough eyes to stare. The strength and abilities that Luo Qingtong revealed were only the tip of the iceberg. Ling Yu and the others were already shocked. Who would have thought that the legitimate daughter of a low-level marquis from a low-level kingdom, who was despised by everyone and even despised by the royal family of Tianyu, was such a terrifying existence? Oh my, I said that the royal family of Tianyu was blind. Now it seems that they're not just blind. Did their ancestors dig up the ancestral graves of the heavens? They missed such a powerful daughter-in-law for nothing. They have a mountain of gold in their hands, but they think it's trash. If the ancestors of the royal family of Tianyu were alive, they would probably be angered to death again. Ha! Ling Yu said cheerfully. She had always been a reckless person. Now that she was talking about Tianyu's royal family, she was merciless. Moreover, Yuan Shui almost killed her and her brother. If it wasn't for Luo Qingtong, they would have died long ago. Who should he help? Yes. Ha! Thinking about how Yuan Shui and the people of Tianyu's royal family acted so high and mighty in front of boss, I wanted to laugh. Ha! Yuan Little Overlord also laughed loudly. They didn't expect Luo Qingtong to be so powerful. If anyone really thought that she and the Luo family were weak, then they would be really unlucky, right? Thinking of this, they really sympathized with Tianyu's royal family. Luo Qingtong's lips curved slightly. She raised her head and looked around. She didn't know what kind of forest she was in. Although the door of light she constructed could completely imitate the spatial force field of the previous door of light, it was only limited to opening the passageway to the Kai Yuan mystery realm. She did not know where she would appear in the end. After all, Yi Qianxian was the one who opened the door of light in the end. Only the aura of the saint realm could locate space. She didn't know where he sent her. Thinking of Yi Qianxian, she couldn't help but think of Little Ming Venerable. Thinking of the scene when he disappeared, Luo Qingtong's eyes turned cold. Let's go. Let's get out of here first. Then we'll return to Tianyu branch and settle accounts with Shi Qingqing and the others. According to her estimation, this matter must have something to do with Shi Qingqing and the others. When she returned to Tianyu branch, she would let Shi Qingqing and the others know what hell was like on earth. When Luo Qingtong and the others left the forest, Yi Qianxian opened all the information about Elder Chu on the Atlas flying ship. Finally, his gaze fixed on the three words, Luo Qingtong. Luo Qi. Luo Qingtong. Yi Qianming raised his hand to feel the three slightly protruding words. His eyes were burning with an uncontrollable light. Chapter 544. Whoosh. Dongli Country, Windgaze City. The night was setting. A group of uninvited guests suddenly appeared in Dongli Palace in Windgaze City. The moon hung high in the sky and a group of people appeared in the main hall of Dongli Palace in an instant. Who is it? The guards of the Dongli royal family standing guard around the main hall of the palace had just managed to utter a sound. In an instant, they were stunned by a powerful and terrifying aura. Their mouths were wide open and they were unable to speak. Peak martial royal realm experts. Oh my god. And there were so many of them. The guards in charge of guarding the main hall of the palace looked in shock at the figures that had appeared in the main hall of the palace. Their faces were full of shock. In a small and inferior country like Dongli country, a peak martial royal realm expert was enough to be regarded as a pillar of the country. They could not wait to worship him or her. The soldiers here had never seen an expert at the peak of the martial royal realm. And there was a group of them. Humph. The palace of Dongli country is really shabby. Such a small and inferior country, and they still need us to come together. We are really bringing light to their humble dwelling. Among the group of people, a middle-aged expert in a luxurious blue robe said disdainfully. The palace of Dongli country was not even as big as his mansion. It was really unbearable. Who knows how shabby the so-called Marquis' residence Luo family is? It was really shameful that such an inferior country's aristocratic family was the in-laws of the Tianyu royal family. Is that evil Dr. Gui Tong really Luo Qingtong? Could it be that royal brother and the others made a mistake? A middle-aged man in white beside him said. The latter was quite handsome. He was wearing the king's uniform of the Tianyu Empire. The four-clawed golden dragon looked majestic. The three people at the front of the group were all wearing the king's uniform of the Tianyu royal family. They were the direct descendants of the Tianyu royal family. They were peak martial royal realm experts and extremely powerful. They already had the aura of a peak martial emperor. Beside them was an old man in brown clothes. His eyes shone brightly, and his aura was restrained. It was as if he had merged with the surrounding scenery. If one did not see him, almost no one would be able to sense that he was standing there. Martial Emperor Realm. This old man was a martial emperor. He had reached the stage of unity of heaven and man. No one could sense his aura. It can't be wrong. His Majesty has sent people to the major Blackfield cities again to inquire. That portrait is indeed the evil Dr. Ghost Eye that Blackfield is looking for. The old man spoke at this moment. This time, we must control the Luo family and Luo Laoi in our hands, so that Luo Qingtong can't resist the imprisonment and arrangement of our royal family. Chapter 545. There was a detection array in the Luo family. Luo Qingtong had set it up after Fiji's attack. Therefore, even though the imperial family of Tianyu was cautious and had a martial grand emperor to help cover their tracks, a martial royal realm expert still sensed something was wrong. Martial royal realm expert. Experts are coming to Dongli. Light flashed in his eyes as he sent a message to the people of the Evil Valley to come over. At the same time, a ray of golden light suddenly flew out from 1,000 miles away. It was a message to Luo Qingtong. The martial royal realm expert had a feeling that the group of people who had secretly come to Dongli Palace were here for the Luo clan. Otherwise, why would such a strong cultivator come to a low-level country like Easternly, where the king of Easternly was under Luo Qingtong's control? Of course, it did not matter if he was wrong. It was better to have a false alarm than to have an accident. Master had said that if anything happened to the Luo family and old Master Luo, they did not need to see her again. Swoosh! The message flew quickly and crossed thousands of miles in an instant. It landed on Luo Qingtong, who had just come out of the forest with little Overlord Yuan and the others. 1,000-mile message. Looking at the message, Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed. She raised her hand and kept the message. In an instant, a message flashed into her mind. A group of martial royal realm experts came to Dongli Palace. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. At the same time, in Dongli Palace, the imperial family of Tianyu raised their heads and looked at King Dongli and the others kneeling on the ground. This king and the others are here to give you riches and honor. Prince Cheng, who was dressed in blue and was obviously the leader of the group, said. We are here to deal with the Luo family. King Dongli, we need your help. I'm afraid. King Dongli knelt in front of Prince Cheng in fear and trepidation, sweating profusely. Your Highness, don't make fun of us. The Luo clan and Tianyu's royal family were in-laws. This lowly king was instigated by others to attack the Luo family. This lowly king was in the wrong. Your Highness, if you want to hit or punish me, I, the prince, will take it. Please spare the king's life. Ha! Prince Ching laughed loudly at King Dongli's actions. Don't worry, we're not here to test you. He really wants to deal with the Luo family and Luo Qingtong. When he said this, his eyes turned cold. After Luo Qingtong went to the Tianyu Branch Academy, her behavior became arrogant and despicable. She repeatedly attacked the 7th princess and the other members of the royal family. She wanted to break off the engagement and trampled on the dignity of Tianyu's royal family. Such a future daughter-in-law, such an in-law, our Tianyu royal family disdains. But, he sneered, our Tianyu empire is an emperor-level empire, and the royal family is the model of the empire. Even if we don't want a daughter-in-law like Luo Qingtong or an in-law like the Luo family, we can't start this. Of course, we can't let Luo Qingtong and the Luo family do it. Otherwise, where will the royal family's dignity go? Where's the dignity of an emperor? What do you think, King Dongli? King Dongli was confused by the prince's words. If they didn't want the Luo family and Luo Qingtong to break off the engagement, Tianyu's royal family obviously didn't want to either. Then what were they going to do? He asked cautiously, Your Highness, you mean? Chapter 546. Of course we will destroy the reputation of the Luo clan and Luo Qingtong. In this way, our imperial family can openly attack them. Prince Ching said word by word. The imperial family of Tianyu wanted to control Luo Qingtong and make her work for them. But they also had to consider their own image and the status of the imperial family of an empire. Most importantly, they had to consider Yuan Mo's reputation. Luo Qingtong's identity as the future wife of the 5th prince was the key to their control over Luo Qingtong. How could they let her break off the engagement? But if they didn't break off the engagement, how could they openly attack the Luo clan and Luo Qingtong? How could they threaten the Luo clan and make Luo Qingtong work for them? Of course, they had to destroy the reputation of the Luo clan and Luo Qingtong. As long as Luo Qingtong and the Luo clan betrayed the imperial family, they could do whatever they wanted to them. No matter what they did to the Luo clan and Luo Qingtong, no one would say anything bad about the imperial family of Tianyu. Instead, they would say that Luo Qingtong and the Luo clan deserved it. Since the engagement was still in place, they could force Luo Qingtong to marry back and control her and the imperial family. This was the reason why Prince Ching and the others had come this time. They wanted to turn this shameless act of attacking Luo Qingtong and the Luo clan into something that would only benefit the imperial family of Tianyu. Prince Dongli. Prince Ching shook the embroidery on his sleeves and carefully arranged it. He smiled proudly and said in a deep voice, if Luo Qingtong had an affair with someone else and raised him in the Luo family on the basis of the marriage agreement with the royal family of Tianyu, and the latter would cover up for her. Grandfather Luo, that old bastard, even came to our imperial family to break off the engagement. What do you think will happen? This. Prince Dongli opened his eyes wide. The imperial family of Tianyu was vicious. Vicious and ruthless. Think about it, Luo Qingtong had an affair with another man and raised him in the Luo clan. In order to cover up for her, the Luo clan deliberately broke off the engagement with the imperial family of Tianyu. In this way, the imperial family of Tianyu would become the victims and Luo Qingtong would become the scheming bitch. What's more, the 7th princess's action against Luo Qingtong would be cleared. After all, it was Luo Qingtong, the imperial family of Tianyu, that was betrayed her. Wasn't it normal for the 7th princess to punish her? Originally, everyone sympathized with the Luo clan and criticized Tianyu's imperial family and the 7th princess actions. But the imperial family of Tianyu changed the clan. The target of everyone's sympathy was now Tianyu's royal family. As for Luo Qingtong and the Luo family, they became the target of everyone's hatred. F. Too vicious. What do you think? Prince Ching looked at Prince Dongli with a faint and complacent expression. After this, the Luo clan will have no chance to turn the tables. Prince Dongli, I know you're afraid of the Luo clan. You're only tolerating them because of the imperial family of Tianyu. I'll give you a chance to take revenge. Arrange for a man to enter the Luo clan. I'll go and catch him in the act. Don't worry, His Majesty has already dispatched troops. Tens of thousands of elite tiger guards under the imperial family of Tianyu are on their way. They will arrive in 3 days. Chapter 547. Prince Ching laughed complacently as he spoke. However, he didn't know that tiny whirlpools were forming in the depths of Prince Dongli's eyes. Those vortexes were mixed in the depths of the faint gray eyes, transmitting all of his words. In the grove, Luo Qingtong's eyes flickered. When she received the message from the martial royal realm expert, she used a special method to contact the brain worm in Prince Dongli's body. Instead of killing the Eastern Fence King directly, he made him into a chess piece to guard the Eastern Fence country. It was indeed the right decision. Now, the royal family of Tianyu had come knocking on her door. If it weren't for this, she wouldn't have known that they were secretly hatching such a scheme. Tisk, tisk. Little Pig clicked his tongue in Luo Qingtong's sleeve. The royal family of Tianyu really deserved to die. This woman hadn't even gone after them yet, but they came knocking on her door to die. They even wanted to ruin the Luo family by slandering their reputation. Didn't they know that the Luo family was this woman's reverse scale? The royal family of Tianyu must be tired of living. Luo Qingtong crushed the communication light in her hand. She told Prince Dongli that he had pretended to agree to her request and then cut off the communication with him. The royal family of Tianyu. Good. You're really good. Luo Qingtong's words came out of nowhere. Little Overlord Yuan and the others didn't know what was going on and looked at her in confusion. Boss, what's wrong? Who made you angry? Little Overlord Yuan asked when he sensed the cold aura around Luo Qingtong. Nothing. Luo Qingtong's voice was cold. She was just disgusted by the shameless behavior of some people. The royal family of Tianyu was good. They wanted to destroy the Luo family. Let's see who will be the one to destroy who. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. She looked at Ling Yu, and Ling Tianhan and asked, how loyal is Duke Ling's mansion to the royal family of Tianyu? The moment she said that, Ling Yu, and Ling Tianhan were both shocked. Su Xiaoxiao and Little Overlord Yuan were also very surprised. They didn't know why Luo Qingtong suddenly asked this question. However, they could tell that she wasn't just asking casually. Ling Yu stopped Ling Yu and looked at Luo Qingtong cautiously. Duke Ling's mansion isn't loyal to the royal family of Tianyu. He looked at Luo Qingtong and said carefully, before Tianyu was established, Duke Ling's mansion was already an important official of the previous dynasty. Our relationship with Tianyu's royal family was only mutually beneficial. Tianyu's royal family relies heavily on us, but at the same time, they're also very cautious. Duke Ling's mansions families mansions TS families is S's mansion. T.S. Emperor of Yu's. TTS Princess's Yu's sit was because Emperor of Tianyu allowed the royal family to suppress Duke Ling's mansion. The royal family of Tianyu has a lot to do with the royal family of Tianyu. Ling Tianhan said directly. He had never said this to an outsider. But Ling Tianhan had a hunch that Luo Qingtong's question was unusual. If he didn't tell the truth, it wouldn't be good for him in Duke Ling's mansion. That was why he didn't hesitate to say it out loud. Fine. Luo Qingtong's voice was cold. In that case, I'll give Duke Ling's mansion an opportunity. Chapter 548. Pfft. Little brat Yuan was drinking water at the moment. Hearing this, he spat out all the water in his mouth. Oh my god. What did boss say? He stared at Luo Qingtong in shock. Oh my god. Boss must be kidding, right? This was 2F** king shocking. This was an empire. It wasn't some low-level, middle-level, or high-level country. It was an emperor-level country. Conferred by the sacred dynasty. A super country with a title. To become the ruler of such an empire, the imperial family of Tianyu had to have a strong foundation. Not only did they have numerous experts, but they also had several martial emperors. More importantly, they had to be conferred and recognized by the sacred dynasty. Now boss was asking Ling Tianhan if he was willing to replace them. Could it be that boss wanted to destroy the imperial family of Tianyu? No way. Little brat Yuan's eyes widened. Ling Yu and Ling Tianhan were also completely stunned. Especially Ling Tianhan. Although he had guessed that Luo Qingtong asked him this question for an ulterior motive, he did not expect Luo Qingtong to say something so shocking. Replace the imperial family of Tianyu. Become the ruler of this vast territory and fertile land of the empire. As Ling Tianhan imagined such a scene, he swallowed hard. What do you think? Luo Qingtong looked at him indifferently. Ling Tianhan, you and Ling Yu are half of my people, so I'm willing to give you and Duke Ling's mansion a chance. If you agree, I'll support Duke Ling's mansion to take the throne. If you don't agree, it doesn't matter. At most, she could find someone else. There were too many people who wanted to replace the imperial family of Tianyu. With Luo Qingtong's skills, it was easy for her to control the other party. However, Duke Ling's mansion was in the best situation in all aspects. Ling Yu and Ling Tianhan were also on her side, so Luo Qingtong was willing to give them a chance. After all, it was too troublesome to control an empire. Luo Qingtong didn't have the time and energy to do so, nor was she interested in it. It would be best if Duke Ling's mansion could take over the Tianyu Empire. What Luo Qingtong wanted was for Tianyu's royal family to fall from the clouds. Under such circumstances, it didn't matter who was promoted. Moreover, as long as the people of Duke Ling's mansion weren't stupid, they should know that he could destroy the Tianyu Empire and help them ascend to the throne. Naturally, it would be easier to destroy them. However, Luo Qingtong believed that with Ling Yu and Ling Tianhan around, Duke Ling's mansion would not make such a stupid choice. If it weren't for the sake of the siblings, she wouldn't have given this path to heaven to the people of Duke Ling's mansion. Ah. Agree. Of course he had to agree. Only a fool wouldn't agree to such a good thing. Ling Yu finally reacted and immediately cried out. Ha! In the future, I will be a princess. Let's see if Yuan Shui can still be arrogant in front of me. At that time, I'll definitely vent my anger. She always used her identity to suppress me. Thinking of this, Ling Yu laughed cheerfully, revealing her Mrs. Temper. Little Overlord Yuan and the others looked at her speechlessly. Did she agree to such a big deal just because of this? But then again, if it were them, they would definitely agree too. No one doubted Luo Qingtong's words. The latter had already conquered them with her performance in the mysterious land of Kaiyuan. Chapter 549. Okay. Ling Tianhan nodded without hesitation. I'll contact father and grandfather immediately. But... Ling Tianhan frowned. They naturally believed in Luo Qingtong and knew that she definitely had the ability to destroy Tianyu's royal family. After all, not to mention Luo Qingtong's terrifying strength and ability, the man who protected them and Luo Qingtong in the Kaiyuan Mystery Territory was enough to destroy the entire Tianyu Empire countless times. But they knew this, but the people of Duke Ling's mansion didn't. Ling Tianhan looked at Luo Qingtong with some difficulty, not knowing if she was willing to reveal that person's identity. Luo Qingtong could tell that he was in a difficult position. She thought about it and knew what he was worried about. She said indifferently, "Just tell your father and the others that evil Dr. Gui Tong wants to destroy Tianyu's royal family. Ask them if they're willing to ally with her." "If they're willing." Luo Qingtong's lips curled up. "Then your crippled right hand can be healed." Pfft. When Luo Qingtong said this, Yuan little tyrant spat out the mouthful of water he had just drunk. Heavens have mercy on him, he really was dying of thirst in the little forest. But he was so shocked by his boss that he spat out a mouthful of water. He tried hard to suppress the shock in his heart, but when he heard Luo Qingtong's words, he spat out the water again. He fiercely wiped his face, looked at the water bag in his hand, and said with grief and indignation, "Come on. Boss, what other shocking words do you have to say? Let's do it at once. I can still hold on. Otherwise, if this continued, he would really die of thirst." Ha! Seeing him like this, Su Xiaoxiao and the others couldn't help but laugh. Even Ling Tianhan and Ling Yu, who were shocked by Luo Qingtong's words, laughed. Evil Dr. Gui Tong. Ling Tianhan looked at Luo Qingtong, his eyes shining brightly. Luo Qingtong was actually the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. His right hand could be healed. Ling Tianhan's heart was thumping up and down, as if he was sitting on clouds. He did not know how to describe it. Yes. Luo Qingtong nodded indifferently. How else do you think I brought you out of the Kai Yuan mystic realm? How did that light door appear? When she said this, everyone suddenly remembered. Luo Qingtong's method of drawing that door of light was exactly the same as evil Dr. Gui Tong's. However, at that time, their minds were focused on defending against the dead souls. In addition, the door of light was opened by Yi Qianxian, so they had forgotten about this. Ling Yu jumped up in joy. That's awesome. Big brother, there's a cure for your hand. Yes. Ling Tianhan nodded his head, his heart filled with unspeakable joy. Then, he immediately contacted his father and grandfather. Knowing that Ling Tianhan's hand could be cured, and that the person who did it was the famous evil Dr. Gui Tong, Duke Ling and the others agreed to form an alliance with Luo Qingtong without hesitation. And he promised that when Luo Qingtong attacked, he would do his best to support her. The army of the Tianyu Empire would not be a hindrance to her. The imperial family of the Tianyu Empire would be completely isolated in the imperial city. After getting the confirmation from Duke Ling's mansion, Luo Qingtong, Little Overlord Yuan and the others rushed back to Dongli State. Chapter 550. At the same time, in Dongli Palace, Prince Cheng and the others were still waiting for King Dongli's response. The latter had already received instructions from Luo Qingtong. He nodded pretentiously and said indignantly, "Of course. Your Highnesses, you don't know how domineering the Luo clan is. Especially that Luo Qingtong. She is so arrogant that she destroyed the 3 armies of Dongli. She doesn't respect me at all. If it weren't for the imperial family, I would have razed the Luo clan to the ground." King Dongli's words were harsh and ruthless. Prince Cheng and the others knew how he felt about the Luo clan. They also knew that he had done something to the Luo clan before, but Luo Qingtong retorted. Prince Cheng nodded and said, "Okay, in that case." Before he could finish, King Dongli's tone suddenly changed. "But your Highnesses, this is no small matter. Luo Qingtong was the future wife of the Empire's 5th prince. If you want me to do this, I'm more than willing to do it. But you have to give me a token from the imperial family to prove that the imperial family asked me to do it. Otherwise, I can't bear the wrath of the 5th prince. I don't dare to do it." It was clear that King Dongli was afraid that he would become the scapegoat to take the blame. Prince Cheng and the others didn't doubt him. Okay. The martial emperor old man behind Prince Cheng said, "This is the coiling dragon jade pendant of the imperial family. Only the core members of the imperial family are allowed to wear it. There are no more than 12 of them in the imperial family. Each of them symbolizes absolute authority. Take it and no one will question it. This is not an order from the imperial family." As he spoke, he handed over the jade pendant in his hand. King Dongli hurriedly took it and said, "Okay. Please rest assured, Your Highnesses, I will definitely take care of this matter properly for you." "Okay." The martial emperor old man replied in a low voice. He closed his eyes and pretended to sleep. "All right, since that's the case, you can go and prepare. We also need to prepare well. Tomorrow, we will go to the Luo family and pay a visit to that old Master Luo," Prince Cheng said in a deep voice. Since they were here to catch the traitor, they naturally couldn't appear suddenly for no reason. Otherwise, wouldn't they be telling everyone that this scene was arranged by them? Prince Cheng and the others had already made up their minds. This time, they came in early to discuss this matter with the king of Easternly Imperial Palace. Now that the matter was settled, they could enter the city with great fanfare tomorrow. As for the purpose, naturally, it was to present the betrothal gifts to the Luo clan for the fifth prince. Previously, Yu Wenma had said that he would marry Luo Qingtong when she was 16 years old. At that time, Emperor Tianyu and the others didn't agree, feeling that Luo Qingtong wasn't worthy of Yu Wenma. Now, he was using this as an excuse. Although Luo Qingtong was not yet 16 years old, she was almost there. There was nothing wrong with sending the betrothal gifts in advance. At that time, they could justifiably stay in Wingate City and plan a good show. The group left at once. Early the next morning, the sound of gongs and drums could be heard outside Wingate City. A 10-mile-long procession of people entered the city. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.